Hello everyone! This week in tech felt a little unhinged. Amazon is buying AI chips like there is no tomorrow. Nvidia is pushing in influence even deeper into the hardware stack. ARM has decided licensing is no longer enough and now wants its own AI chip in the fight. LG of all companies may have done something that people with the laptops will actually care about. Meta is still pushing smart glasses and hoping the rest of us finally stop looking at them like a side experiment. And then, right at the end, we have the two gaming rumors that feel very in 2026. A PS6 may show up without a disk drive, and a Steam Deck 2 that might take so long to arrive that some people will probably finish with the backlog first. So this is not one of those weeks where the tech moves forward neatly. This is one of those weeks where everyone looks like they are trying to grab a better position before the next big shift hits. Let's get into it. Let's start with Amazon, because while everyone keeps talking about who is building the future of AI, Amazon is busy doing the other important part, buying an absurd amount of it. According to Reuters, Nvidia is set to sell Amazon 1 million chips by the end of 2027 for AWS. 1 million! This is a kind of number that stops sounding normal the second way to say it out loud. I think it's too insane amount. This is not just a big cloud deal. It's a pretty brutal reminder of what the AI race actually looks like now. At this level, it is no longer just about having a smart models or a flashy demo. It's about who can look down enough compute to keep scaling where everyone else is still thinking about the strategy. If companies like Amazon can secure cheap volumes on that scale, then the rest of the market has to fight over is left. Wait no longer, pay more, or settle for the weaker infrastructure. This is how a tech race turned into the resource war. And the funny part is that from the outside that still gets framed like AI is advancing fast. Which is true, but it misses the real shape of the story. AI is advancing fast because a few giant companies are spending at levels that starts to feel slightly insane. So, when you hear that Amazon is looking at the kind of Nvidia capacity, the real takeaway is not, wow, AWS is serious about AI. We already knew that. The real takeaway is that the biggest players are trying to secure their future because the rest of the market even gets a seat at the table. And once this starts happening at this scale, everything around AI hardware gets a tighter supply, pricing leverage, and power. Now Nvidia, because apparently selling the most important AI chips on the planet is no longer enough. They also want a deeper grip on the rest of the system. This week, Nvidia revealed a roundly $2 billion stake in Marvell. And this is not about superheroes. In reality, it looks more like Nvidia pushing itself further in the wiring, networking, and custom silicon side of the AI boom. This is a bigger play right here and right now. For the last couple of years, the story around Nvidia was easily to understand. They made the chips for everybody wanted, everybody rushed to buy them, and Jensen Huang got to walk on the stage like the final boss of the modern computing game. But the market is changing now. The biggest customers do not just want power the chips. They want better system, better interconnects, and of course fewer weak links on the way start scaling massive AI workloads. That is exactly where the Marvell becomes useful. Marvell is deep in networking and custom infrastructure silicon, which means there is not Nvidia throwing the money around for fun. This is Nvidia moving closer to the part of the stack that decide whether the giant AI system actually holds together as the hype leaves the keynote and the real workload starts. And honestly, that should make competitors nervous. Now, ARM, and this one is a real shift. For years, ARM has been the company behind the stands. Its architecture and design are everywhere, and half of the tech world has been building on the top of this work. But that role has always been a little cleaner. Letting the architecture, let everyone else make the actual hardware, collect the wins quietly. That may be changing. According to reports, ARM is now preparing the first in-house AI CPU, with Meta expected to be the one of the first customers. So this is not just ARM helping other companies build chips anymore. Now they're stepping onto the field by itself. And that is a much bigger deal than it sounds. Because the second a company like ARM stops being just a supplier in the background and starts making its own move in AI silicon, the whole shape of the market gets messier. Partners start looking a little more like rivals. The neural platform suddenly looks a lot less natural, and everyone who relied on ARM being the architecture company now has to think about what ARM wants to become next. Meta being filled to this story makes it even more interesting, because that tells you exactly where the pressure is coming from. The biggest AI players are not satisfied with buying whatever is available on the shelf anymore. They want tighter control, more specialized hardware, and systems built around their own workloads instead genetic promises. So, if Amazon buying huge amounts of Nvidia hardware shows you how brutal demands has become, ARM making its own AI GPUs shows you the next phase of the scramble. Everyone wants more control, and nobody wants to be the company that shows up late when the silicon games get even more serious. So, what about the Meta, which is still very determined to make smart glasses happen, whether the rest of the world feel ready or not? This week, the company unveiled new Ray-Ban Meta glasses built for prescription wearers, which sounds like a small update until you realize it fixed one of the biggest problems with this whole category. A lot of people do not want a second pair of glasses just for tech tricks. They want one pair can actually wear all day without feeling like they are beta testing somebody else's middle creases. This is the whole Meta is trying to close here. The new models are designed to support a much wider range of prescriptions with more flexible fit options and stronger push toward everyday comfort. Which, to be fair, is the first time this whole smart glasses idea starts. Sounds less like a weird gadget demo and more like something normal people might actually consider. That doesn't mean the category is suddenly solved. A lot of people still find smart glasses awkward, intrusive, or creepy, and Meta has absolutely earned some of these distrusts. But the company clearly understands that if these things are ever going to break out, they cannot stay stuck in the novelty for tech people who enjoy explaining expensive gadgets to their friends at the dinner. They have to become boring in the best possible way. And of course, they will have to feel like something you just wear. And that's why this launch matters more than it looks at the first glance. Meta is not only adding features anymore, it's trying to remove friction. And in consumer tech, this is usually when the products stop being only strange experiments and start becoming real contenders. Now, let's get away from the giant AI spending for a second and talk about something much more normal: laptop battery life, which is one of those things everyone complains about until the company actually tries to fix it. LG Display has started mass production of a new laptop panel that can shift all the way from 1 Hz to 120 Hz, depending on what you are doing. So, if you are reading, checking email, or just sitting in a browser tab pretending to work, the screen can drop way down and stop wasting the power. Then, the second you start streaming, scrolling, or doing something that actually needs smooth motion, it ramps back up. LG says that this can improve battery efficiency by about 48%, which is a not shy little marketing bump. This is the kind of number laptops that makes absolutely love to put on the giant sticker. And the funny part is that is one of the most useful tech stories of the last weeks, because this is not trying to sell some grand vision about changing humanity. It is just solving a real problem in the smart way. A lot of tech news right now is obsessed with the massive data centers, custom silicon, and billion-dollar AI moves. But most people still spend their day starting at a laptop and hoping the battery does not die at the worst possible time. So a screen gets smarter about what actually needs high refresh rates make a lot of sense. It is simple and honestly kind of refreshing. And it is already turning into the real hardware. So if it works the way LG say it does, this is a lot of laptops market are going to want it, because almost 50% better battery efficiency is the kind of phrase that makes product terms start breathing heavily. Now, of a little one, but it's exactly the kind of rumors that gets people arguing fast. According to the recent reports, The PS6 could launch without a built-in disk drive, which honestly feels like the most predictable and annoying next step at the same time. On the one hand, you can already see where this is going. Digital is easier for Sony, easier to control and a lot of better for locking people deeper in their store. No used games, no physical resale, of course no wandering into the shop and grabbing something cheaper because it's sitting on the shelves. From a business point of view, it makes perfect sense. From a player point of view, it is a lot less charming. Because people do still care about owning games, collecting and borrowing them, and not waking up one day to find that ownership was actually just a polite little rental with better branding. So even if this rumor turns out to be only half true, the direction itself close not feel fake at all. The industry has been drifting this way for years. And that's why this rumor lands so well. It's not shocking because it sounds impossible. It's shocking because it sounds extremely believable. And then there is a Steam Deck 2 rumor, which says the next version may not show up until 2028. If that is true, the Valve is moving in a very Valve kind of way, which means taking this time, ignoring the usually hype cycle, and releasing something only when it feels like it's worth releasing. To be fair, there is logic here. Handheld hardware moves fast, but not always in the way just justifies a rushed follow-up. If the jump is too small, or if the price is too high, people complain. If battery life still is not great, people also definitely complain. So waiting longer to make the next one feel like a real step forward is not the dumbest strategy in the world. Still, 2028 sounds far enough away. Some people will hear this and immediately lose of interest. In tech, anything that far out starts feeling like a promise written on the fog. But it does fit the bigger mood around handhelds right now. So if Valve really is waiting, the reason is probably simple. They do not want to ship a Steam Deck 2 that feels like the Steam Deck 1.3. So that was the last weeks. Amazon is buying AI hardware at the scale that barely sounds real. Nvidia is pushing deeper into the stack. ARM wants a bigger role in the silicon fight. LG quietly came up with something useful. Meta is still trying to make smart glasses feel normal. And the gaming industry is going what it does best, slowly dragging people toward a future they are not fully sure they want. And that is what makes the whole movement interesting. Some of these stories are huge, some of the practical, some are still rumors, but all the point in the same direction. The next version of tech is being shaped right now, and it is not happening nearly. If you enjoyed it, subscribe, and we will meet on the next one.